Okay. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me greet you, the honourable members, and the invitees. Good morning, General.
Sangoni.
General, when you talk about the PKTT, you're saying that it was very much successful. And then the PKTT was established. But before that, the president, when he visited Mr. Msawenkosi Mchunu, visiting that family because Msawenkosi Mchunu was assassinated, then he saw that political killings have escalated. And then he formed the interministerial committee. Then you have the interministerial committee that is there formed by the president, who established the PKTT, having the interministerial committee and the national commissioner. I'll tell you why after you have answered me. If you can just give me an answer. Who established that PKTT?
Is the National Commissioner.
So the PKTT was established by the National Commissioner, then the cabinet, it introduced the interministerial committee. Then, so its disbandment, it should have been done by the National Commissioner, not by the minister, because the minister had no jurisdiction. Because to me, that interministerial committee was chaired by the Minister of SAPS. And that ministerial committee played an oversight role to the PKTT. If it played an oversight role, then there was a directive that should come to the IMC saying that you can stop here. Don't do that after having those meetings, even though you have said that they were not meeting frequently, even though they had to meet if there was something urgent. Then can you give me, do the interministerial committee give directives, or was it allowed, or the directives, they were coming through the National Commissioner to the PKTT?
That is correct. The National Commission will give directive what needs to be done.
Then in the meetings now, if the IMC is having a meeting, then it will be surely it will be the National Commissioner who will bring a report and who will go out and communicate. So in other words, it means that the Minister of SAPS, even though he was chairing the IMC, had no jurisdiction to talk to the PKTT.
That is correct. The ministers can engage just about everyone they want to engage with. They can talk to every member. However, when they take strategic decision of this nature, it has to follow the chain of command first, and secondly, it has to be decisions that are within their delegation of authority. I must indicate, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, that the Minister of Police at the time when this IMC was functioning well was Gerald Cele. Gerald Cele is an ex-police commissioner. Gerald Cele, I'm sure everyone knows, is a very active person that wants to get involved with a lot of things, and most of them end up being operational. It is Gerald Cele to have expected to have done something like this because of his energy that he has in terms of policing, but he did not. He still respected the National Commission. So each time you'll come to the province, and even he happens to be in KZN and he wants a briefing of something, he will not phone an investigator and say, come and tell me about what's happening somewhere there. He will phone one of us, either the National Commission, myself. He always tell me when he's in the province, as well as the person who was running the project, Gerald Khumalo. He was always engaging in that line. I mean, sometimes you'll come with the National Commissioner, they will have meetings, even if I'm not there. But he always engaged in that fashion, even if he does it outside the IMC. But he always followed that chain of command. So I do not know, maybe he was privileged to understand, because he was a police commissioner, to understand the chain of command that maybe even someone did not understand. But that's just an example of how we were operating all the time without problems. And I'm sure even if there was a time for such a disestablishment of this team during that time, perhaps Gerald Cele would have taken it through the IMC to say, we started this, it's gone this far, we don't see much of this thing happening anymore. Let's approach the president and disestablish this the responsibility that was given to us by the president, and I'm sure they will have done it in a correct channel.
Yeah. Then you are having provincial commissioners under the national commissioner. Then yourself, you had to report to the national commissioner about how the PKTT was working. And even going to Gauteng, where you sent, you didn't ask any advice, any permission from the IMC. Police were sent because of the agreement from the national commissioner and yourselves when the provincial commissioner of Gauteng wanted to be assisted.
That's correct. When there was a call for the members to be assisted, it only had to end with the National Commission because it was an operational thing.
Then in yourself, the role of the IMC, in your understanding or see it in practical terms now, you are having the national commissioner responsible for the PKTT, which you are nearer to it than the IMC. Its role, having the national commissioner. I know the minister will play an oversight over the national, but having the IMC established specifically for political killings.
Yeah, well, I guess the presence of the IMC in a way took away the authority of the executive authority of the minister over the police, because then the work that the team was doing was to account to this group of ministers, with or without the Minister of Police presence. So any other minister will chair that meeting, that IMC, and we must account to that minister on what we're doing as a police. And the minister, together with his colleague, they will take that information to the president. So that is what, that's a setup that was created. So the national or the Minister of Police cannot claim to be the owner of such an operation. So the action of Minister Mkhunu was flawed in relation to that. It missed that part.
Because to me, if you're saying that they took the powers of the Minister of Police, but the IMC was chaired by the Minister of SAPS?
Yeah, it was chaired by the Minister of SAPS. But once it becomes an IMC, it becomes a group of ministers that those that must execute must account to all of them. Honorable Chair and members, maybe I must also indicate how we structured in the organization. There's a cluster which is called the JCPS cluster. And when we operate within that cluster, we get directives that are coming from the cluster. So once a cluster, through the Joint Operation Intelligence structure, issues a directive, you will find a letter that is signed by maybe the Commissioner of Correctional Service or the Chief of the Army that directs the police to do A to Z. It's carrying that badge of JCPS. The police must do that. You're not going to say, no, this is not a national commission, you're not going to do it. Because we understand that it's a cluster that is given the tasking that you must execute this specific task. So when you look at part of the example as we are discussing this, the annexure on this statement, volume 2, in your folders, just to emphasize the point, perhaps it might be visible, I'm not so sure. No, it's not visible. The presentation that is sitting on this, I think it was extracted, and there's some pictures that I wanted the members to see, which are not visible on this presentation. But the presentation that we were giving all the time as we summarize the work of the team on NSM4 on page 32. Oh, no, sorry. That presentation is for the one of portfolio committee. My mistake. I will find the one perhaps in some of the example of the presentation we'll give to the IMC. Every time we give the presentation to IMC, we're going to put the coat of arms, then we're going to put the national flag on top of the presentation. That is an indication that the presentation is not for the SCPS, but the presentation is for the cluster. So when you see in the cluster working arrangement, the presentation made, it does not reflect one department. It covers all the departments. You sometimes going to find the SSA badge in the defense badge in there, and many other departments that are involved, NPA and so forth. That's what you're going to find all the time. So once you see that, then you get to know that this is not one department's project, but it's a combination. We've been doing those type of presentation all the time, and that's how we structure it. If we do the police thing alone, we put a police badge. So that gives an indication, where does this one belong? So I guess if the minister had been privy to that, had called for a presentation, we were going to give him a presentation that has got multiple badges in it. And that was going to be a signal to him that this is not SAPS thing alone, it's for the collective. So he will have gone back to his colleagues to discuss the disestablishment.
Yeah. Having the IMC and the Minister of SAPS chairing that IMC, playing an oversight role to the PKTT through the National Commissioner. So you're saying that he shouldn't have given a directive to the National Commissioner to say that disestablish this PKTT. You're saying that he was not supposed to do that, even though you know that he's playing an oversight role through that IMC, his sheriff, so that he reports to the IMC.
That's correct, Honorable Chair and members. I think I found what I wanted to make an example on. If you go to volume 3 of the annex on your folders, and you check annexure MK5 there under NSM3 on the volume 3, written 3.1 on the annex there, page 151. And then it starts from there and it runs to There are quite a number of pages of this presentation. I think ends at 170. So if you look at that presentation there, you'll see that there is a badge of the South African Police Service as well as the badge of the NPA. That's what I was talking about earlier. So that the moment you have a presentation that is going to have more than one badge, then you must know this doesn't belong to one entity. It's a combination. So that this is a typical example of how we present.
Then the last question that I asked, this one of the minister doing an oversight role and the interministerial committee playing an oversight role over the PKTT. Then they decide, the ministers decide to disestablish the PKTT, give that directive to the National Commissioner. Are you saying that he was not supposed to do that, even though he's playing an oversight role? I know you have said that the PKTT was the decision of the National Commissioner. Then now the minister comes in and says, no, we should stop with the PKTT as he's playing an oversight role. He was not supposed to do that.
That is correct, honorable members, honorable chair and honorable members. I did indicate on that NSM 3 on my statement that I deposed at the commission that the PKTT was just but one of the task teams that we had in the South African Police Service. And for the minister to choose only one team and it decides that that team does not add any value in the policing in the country was questionable right at the onset. So if the minister is honest, he should come here and explain why did he choose only this one. Doing his oversight as an executive authority over the South African Police Service, was he aware of the rest of the task team that existed? And if so, how did he get to know? Did he receive any presentations about each one of them? Did he assess the budget that was used by each one of them and how they're operating each one of them? And before he makes a decision that this one must be shut down. I mentioned the number of example of some of the national teams that were working in the province, in the country at the time when the minister took this decision. This was not the only one that was operating, but I will find an example on my statement where I can make a reference to. So I still strongly believe that exercising oversight over the South African Police Service as a minister by deciding to disestablish the PKTT was not a decision informed by the performance of the team, was not a decision informed by the assessment that the minister has done over the work, was not informed by the people that allegedly informed the minister, the merit he has, the members that shared information, was not informed by that.
So immediately after the disestablishment of the PKTT, what happened to the IMC?
The IMC stopped meeting in September 2023. It has never met to date. Perhaps, honorable chair and members, that seems to be part of the challenges which shouldn't be there, but it is there. That the executive authority of departments are appointed by the leaders, be it a premier in the province, be it the president at national level. But those are the members that are coming from political parties. And their presence in those offices are dependent on the political parties or those individuals that appointed them. Now, if it then so happens that you go through elections and there's new government that is formed and the new leadership is appointed, the one that will have occupied the position of that executive authority of a department, by the time that the parliament is dissolved, That person is sitting in limbo because he's got no authority over the department, and sit and wait like the rest of us watching television, hoping and praying that the president is going to appoint that person back into the position again. If it doesn't happen, that the person is appointed again as a minister of police, like in this case, I think the last day the minister of police will have left office is before the announcement of the president. That will be the last time the president, when the parliament is, when the parliament is dissolved, that person is no longer in the police, will have left with his bags. And when if he doesn't come back, and a new individual comes back, and there's no handing over that is done. The outgoing does not sit with the incoming, and they sit down and they work on the program, and they get to be briefed. To some degree, we might expect that from coming from different political parties, but the hatred within the same party is that bad that the outgoing doesn't even, the incoming doesn't want to hear anything about the outgoing. He doesn't want to listen to him or meet with him, doesn't want to even work with the staff that comes from that one. So they basically now, some of them don't even want cars. Doesn't matter whether the car is driven 10,000 kilometers. They don't want to sit in the furniture. They don't want anything to do with the outgoing. They start their own things afresh. I think that disconnect creates problems like this, because then the incoming executive authority, the ministers that took responsibility of the former ministers, maybe some of them are not even aware that there was such an IMC that existed, because there was no handing over done. You'll ask different ministers of correctional service, justice, and all the others. They might tell you, we don't know anything about IMC you're talking about. Nobody told us about it. Otherwise, we would have met if we knew about it. If they did, maybe they met somewhere else, but not in an official place where we expect them to meet, where we're supposed to be part of that meeting and give them presentation. So that's where the challenge and that's where the risk is. I don't know what Parliament is going to do about that, but that's part of the problem.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, General. Let me stop there because I don't want you to go further to say that the ministers do this and that. Thank you, General.
Thank you.
Can I ascertain something with you? Are you stopping, or are you saying my questions are ending here?
For now, they're ending here.
Okay.
When you give me, I'm an alternate, you know the alternate.
No, it's not how we agreed. It's not how we agreed. If you have exhausted your questions, we pass.
I've exhausted as of now.
It must be very clear. Your time has not ended. Your questions have ended. Is that so?
Okay.
So we move. And this must be the understanding, honorable members. If we allocate your time and your questions get exhausted before the time that has been allocated, we don't have time storage here. Yes, that's how we must understand it. So that somebody must not come back and say, I have invested time with you, Chairperson, and can I now get my investments? I'm moving forward to the MKP. Honorable Sangoni.
Chairperson, I don't want to misunderstand you. And then we come back and we do exactly what you say we must not do. Can we at this point...
But on a point of order, Chair, she's not going to behave like that. We're not in a house here. She has to be recognized by you. You can't just take a mic and speak.
Yes, I said
no, Chair.
I said, honorable.
No, I didn't do that.
I lifted my hand, the chairperson recognized, I proceeded to
This
speak.
comradeship is not going to work here. There's a procedure here.
Wait, honorable members. Honorable Malema, the name of Honorable Sangoni was called by me as the chair to say Honorable Sangoni, and I respectfully request you to apologize to the female comrade.
I was going to do that, but you can't point the finger at me and say, must apologize, and then you take that instruction. It doesn't work like that. Do pointed the finger at me and say, must apologize.
No. Let's do it. Let's do it out of revolutionary consciousness.
But Mdu must apologize to me first.
The struggle that we pursue
I withdraw, I
is
apologize.
about the recognition of women and their emancipation.
Thank you, Honorable Malema. I appreciate the apology.
Wait, Honorable Sangoni. Yeah. Okay. I now recognize you.
Thank you very much, Chair. No, you said that we are not, you don't have a storage of time. Now, I just want to confirm that as we stop at this point as the African National Congress and are going to come back, what is the time at this point? So we don't fight with you about that later.
I allocated you 1 hour plus 10 minutes. The 1 hour plus 10 minutes is for 2 full members of the ANC plus 1 alternate. Chief Whip.
No, Chair, I think we would like to help you, because earlier on when you were explaining the allocation of time, I even whispered to some of my colleagues that no, he's making a mistake. This is how we understand the time allocation. The ANC has got 2 hours, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Each one of us, except one of my colleagues has got 30 minutes. What has happened now, in our understanding, is that one member that qualifies for 30 minutes and one member that qualifies for 10 minutes have participated in the discussion. And what we thought you are going to then say is that on the basis of the 30-minute plus 10-minute of the ANC that were supposed to be utilized by the 2 members, this is where we currently stand in terms of the time allocated to the African National Congress. But when you say you are allocating now 3 speakers to the ANC, because when you say it's 1 hour and 10 minutes, you are effectively telling the ANC that out of your 4 members plus 1, 3 of them, you want them to speak now. And that is not the understanding that we hold. And that is why we want to suggest to you, Chair, that at the moment, let's accept that 30 minutes and 10 minutes of the ANC has been utilized to the extent that the minutes were used. You now proceed to other political parties, but the ANC will have to work out with you. If you don't keep a storage, we keep a storage. How much of the 40 minutes was used by the 2 members, and therefore the balance of which would be addition to the 3 other members of the ANC, including you, who are yet to come back late. Thanks.
Okay. The 4 members of the ANC in this committee include me as your chairperson. So on the ground, you have 3 full members. And when I started, I said, I'm allocating you 1 hour plus 10 minutes. And I said, I'm going to split your allocation in 50%. So, and I gave the same example with the MKP to say, they have 1 hour plus 10 minutes. I'm going to give them 40 minutes. So they will have the last 30 minutes in the second round. And so in your case, as the ANC, you have 1 hour now plus 10 minutes in the first round and 1 hour in the second round. So now if for instance, you don't want to use your 30 minutes now, or you are not ready, you make a request to the chair to say, look, we acknowledge that you have allocated us. We humbly request that let's keep that 30 minutes. We will come and use it. We will indicate to you. so that the meeting must proceed. Is that your request? Yeah, if there has been a misunderstanding, I'm sorry for that misunderstanding, but I will reasonably accept your request to say, let's now proceed to the MKP.
Yes, Chair, please accept our humble request that we defer the remaining time to later. Thanks.
And let's make it a practice that any member who wants to make a request like that one, it is acceptable, so that it must not become unjustifiable. Okay, the MKP. Let me say this to you: it's now 10:40. Can I check? Are you going to speak, the three of you, in the 40 minutes allocated?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, you will decide how you allocate the time between yourselves, but your time is 40. Honorable Skosana,
Yes.
your time is 40
minutes. Yes.
Thank you so much.